Noah's Ark, the perfect decor for the new baby's room. Cute animals atop an ark that looks more like a crib than a boat. We've commemorated this global devastation through innocent-looking caricatures rather than depicting the tragedy that it was. But out of all the people on earth, what made God choose Noah as the one he would save and then use to repopulate the world? Let's take an honest look at this question in this week's 5-Minute Torah. Welcome back, Torah Tribe. You're watching the channel that connects disciples of Yeshua to the eternal Torah of God. If you're new to the channel, I post one video per week on the weekly Torah portion and throw in other videos here and there on various other topics related to living a life as a disciple of Rabbi Yeshua. This week's Torah portion is Noach, Genesis 6:9 through 11:32, and here are the three things that you need to know about it. Number one, Noahide laws. As you know, this week's Torah portion primarily covers the calling of Noah, the building of the ark, the flood, and the aftermath thereof. After Noah and his family exit the ark, God makes a covenant with him. He then adds additional terminology that has been traditionally interpreted as the 7 categories of Noahide laws that are incumbent upon all humanity. These categories include, number 1, do not worship idols. Number 2, do not curse God. Number 3, do not murder. Number 4, do not commit sexual immorality. Number 5, do not steal. Number 6, do not eat the limb of a living animal. And number 7, establish courts of law to enforce justice in the world. Number 2, the peril of rainbows. When God made his covenant with Noah and every living creature on earth, he gave mankind a symbol of that covenant, the rainbow. When most people think of a rainbow, they get warm fuzzies and think of My Little Pony. But that's not the perspective God had when he created the rainbow, or the perspective of those first people who saw it. God says, whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. This is Genesis 9:16. In other words, God created the rainbow as a buffer between his wrath and humanity. If you'd like to read more about this concept, be sure to check out my article called The Rainbow Covenant in the links below. And number 3, the Tower of Babel. Toward the end of our Torah portion, we read about the account of the Tower of Babel. As we know, at that time, the people of the world all spoke a common language and used this to their advantage in an attempt to build a ziggurat into the heavens in defiance of their Creator. God thwarted their plans by dividing the common language into many different languages and scattered them across the earth. And although the story seems to end on a bitter note of the people being divided, the portion ends by foreshadowing a time when God would raise up a people that would be his own and walk in his ways through the birth of a man named Abram. As I've said before, it's not too late to get started. If you haven't downloaded my Torah Portions reading schedule for the new Torah Portion reading cycle, you should do so right now. The new Torah cycle has just started, and you can join in the excitement of spiritual discovery. Just follow the link in the description box below to grab your copy. And if you'd like to help support my channel, please consider picking up a copy of 8 Lights, my Hanukkah devotional that will guide your family through each night of Hanukkah, focusing on one particular character trait per night that will help us be better disciples of our Master Yeshua. You can check it out in the links below. This week's Torah commentary is called Leaving a Legacy and comes from my book, 5-Minute Torah, Volume 1. Parshat Noach opens with the words, Ele toldot Noach. Noach ish tzadik tamim haya b'dorotav. Et ha'elohim hithalach Noach. These are the generations of Noach. Noah, or Noach, was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. This is Genesis chapter 6, verse 9. In this passage, the word generations is translated from the Hebrew word toledot. The word toledot is used most often in the scriptures in relationship to genealogy, since its primary meaning is descendants or offspring. For instance, toward the end of this week's Torah portion, we read, these are the generations of Shem, Genesis 11:10. Immediately following is a list of Shem's descendants. The pattern repeats with Terach, saying, now these are the generations of Terach, Genesis 11:27, followed by a list of his children. The same goes for the lists of the sons of Ishmael in Genesis 25, etc. However, in the case of the Bible's description of Noach and a few other select individuals, rather than listing his children, his character traits are listed. The scriptures appear to be emphasizing that more than his literal offspring, the very ones that would repopulate the world after the flood, Noah's legacy was to be found in his character. The Torah lists three, quote, offspring of Noah: his righteousness, his blamelessness, and his relationship with God. Let's briefly explore these concepts. First, Noah was righteous. Well, what does this mean? Righteousness is a legal status by which a person is declared to be right in relationship with another person. This means that Noah held to the standard that the Lord had given him. As it is written, "The Lord tests the righteous, but his soul hates the wicked and the one who loves violence. For the Lord is righteous. He loves righteous deeds. The upright shall behold his face." Psalm 11, verses 5 and 7. When the Lord told Noah to enter the ark, he reminded Noah of his righteousness by saying, "Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation." This is Genesis chapter 7, verse 1. Secondly, Noah was blameless. Well, what does this mean? A person is blameless when they avoid the things that displease God. For instance, when the children of Israel were about to enter into the promised land, the Lord commanded them, saying, "You shall be blameless before the Lord your God." This is Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 13. He desired that they not follow the abominations of the nations they were about to dispossess. The Lord qualifies what it means to be blameless by saying, quote, "For these nations which you are about to dispossess, listen to fortune tellers and to diviners. But as for you, the Lord your God has not allowed you to do this." Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 14. Although there was wickedness all around him, Noah stood firm and did not succumb to the temptation to reduce his religious observance to the lowest common denominator of his environment. And lastly, Noah walked with God. What does this mean? God desires that his children walk with him. The prophet Micah tells us, quote, "He has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God?" Micah chapter 6, verse 8. Walking with God is an idiom for faithfulness. As the scriptures tell us, "Ephraim has surrounded me with lies and the house of Israel with deceit, but Judah still walks with God and is faithful to the Holy One." This is from Hosea chapter 11, verse 12. Although Noah lived in a wicked generation, he was a righteous man, blameless in his generation, and he walked with God. What can we say of ourselves? Are we righteous, blameless, and walking with God? Are we a light that stands out in the dark of this world? What kind of legacy are we leaving for ourselves, and what will be our memorial once we are gone from this life? What will the toldot of our lives be? Thanks again to everyone who helped support this channel and the work of Emet HaTorah. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my video on Bereshit, the last portion of the Torah, or my video on the 5 books that changed my life, in case you missed either one of them. I'll see you next time with another Messianic insight into the eternal Torah of God. Blessings from Emet HaTorah.